And the Zoom is going to go live on Facebook.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Caribbean Edge Kids. We are so excited that you're joining us today, and we have an amazing lineup for you today. We do have joining us from Jamaica, Dr. Amina Blackwood Meeks. So happy she's back with us again. It's always a pleasure to have you, Dr. Amina.
It's my honor. Thank you.
And we have Aunty Brittany. Thank you for tuning in again, joining us. Always a pleasure as well, Aunty Brittany.
Thank you
and we have Aunty Sophie. We don't know what she has in store for us today. Welcome, welcome. And then joining us, we do have Saniyah, one of our young readers. And we have Christian, another reader joining us. So thank you. So we're gonna, my name of course is Dawn Wilson, the host of the Caribbean Edge. Always a pleasure to bring you story time, and we've included some Patwa, which is our language in Jamaica, our dialect. So we're going to teach you a little Patwa and see what our kids do know about Patwa as well. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And we're going to start with Aunty Britt, who is going to start us off with story time.
Hi guys, I'm so excited to be here again, and I'm so excited to read to you guys as always. So this book I thought was really, really cute because cats are my favorite animal. So I brought Pete the Kitty Goes to the Doctor. And I know some people aren't a huge, huge fan of going to the doctor, but we all know it's very, very important, especially right now. So let's read about Pete's visit to the doctor. Pete the Kitty wakes up. It's time to go to school. Pete stretches his arms, he stretches his legs. Ouch! Pete's belly hurts. Pete calls his dad. My belly does not feel groovy, he says. Pete's dad feels his head. Well, you don't have a fever, Dad says. You just need some rest. Dad tucks Pete back into his bed. Dad kisses Pete's head, mwah, tucks him in. Pete pulls up the covers. He thinks he will have a cool day at home. He starts to play with his trains, and then he starts to paint a picture. It's time to get dressed, Dad says. It's time to go to the doctor. Pete does not want to go to the doctor. He is scared of the doctor. Dad says, the doctor is cool. She's not scary. Dad takes Pete to the doctor's office. They wait their turn. The waiting room is fun. Pete gets to play with lots of far-out toys. The nurse comes for Pete. She takes him to another room. The nurse checks for a fever. She put a little thermometer in his mouth. Check the temperature. The doctor comes in. She checks Pete's ears. She checks Pete's eyes. The doctor feels Pete's belly. She listens to Pete's heart. The doctor even lets Pete listen to her heart. Don't worry, the doctor says. It's just a bellyache. The doctor gives Pete a cool sticker. She tells Pete to rest. Dad takes Pete home. Dad lets Pete rest in bed. Pete will feel better soon. Dad was right. The doctor was not scary. She was nice. Pete feels better. Soon he'll be back to his groovy self again. The end.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I don't like going to the doctor, so I can certainly relate to that. But we also know that it's very important to get our checkups. So, and once we're at the doctor, we realize most times it's not as bad as we think. So something very important for us to do. Thank you for that choice in story time today, Auntie Britt. And so Saniyah is here to read for us for the first time on the Caribbean Edge Kids. And we would love to know what book you're reading for us today, Saniyah. But before you get into it, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Saniyah. So Saniyah is 5'9", tall and graceful, and she is a kidpreneur. So she has her beaded bracelet line called Sunflower Bracelets. She enjoys TikTok videos, and you can find her bracelets on Instagram. She loves volleyball, my favorite sport. She loves tennis and golf, which she plays with her parents. And she hopes to join the volleyball team when school opens up. Perfect for that height. So you'll be spiking and we get to watch you in volleyball. And she wants to become either an engineer, a medical doctor, or a lawyer like her Auntie Sherry Ann. And her parents, who have blessed us with her today, is Charlene Graxton and Marvin Tulloch. So welcome to the Caribbean Edge Kids, Saniyah. What are you reading for us today?
So this is a book that my mom used to read to me when I was little. It's called My Mommy and I. That's it. So I'm going to start reading. Oh, I actually got this book all the way back in 2012, and I still have it. So my mommy and I are as close as can be. We always have fun that is easy to see. We like to sit punch and watch great cartoons. We like to play bunches of games with balloons. And few things are better than the stories she tells when it's time for my nap or I'm not feeling well. Sometimes we'll go on a trip to the zoo and look at the beans and elephants too. We play at the park, we sing like a lark. We light up our flashlights to brighten the dark. And mommy's right there if I ever feel scared. We like to dress up on Sundays for church. We like to have picnics in the dog walk in Birch. And we like to give thanks to God for his love, for the shoes on our feet and for heaven above. And yes, mommy is special in so many ways. Her love is the sunshine that comforts my days. She's there when I laugh and there when I cry. We're joined at the heart, my mommy and I. That's it.
Oh, that's a beautiful book. And to imagine that you had that book since 2012, it just shows that your mommy means a lot to you. And yes, we're connected to mommies around the world through our hearts. It's a beautiful book. Anybody else wants to say anything about Saniyah's book? Wasn't that an awesome book?
I'm muted. I'm unmuted now. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Saniyah, it was beautiful and you read it so well. And then you had me thinking about what time means to young people when you said, way back in 2012. In a couple of years, you will be saying, just the other day in 2012. Thank you.
Awesome.
Exactly. My thoughts exactly. Auntie Dawn, when I heard the young lady say yes way back, I thought of it too. It's amazing how they would imagine that to be a long time ago. When you think of our timeline, they would say, oh, that's ancient. But I'm very happy to hear that at least this is the thing. Mothers, when we do things with our children, we have no idea of how it impacts them. The mommy didn't even know she had the book. She kept it because it resonated with her and it meant something to her that she now today is sharing it with the world. So we thank you so much. And mommies, I encourage you to read to the little ones. That is the greatest bonding time, and they will always remember. It is so precious to hear somebody say, my mother used to read that to me. Isn't that right, Amina?
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and daddies too. There's nothing more special than your mommy or your daddy reading to you. So we encourage parents to keep reading, just like Auntie Sophie and Dr. Amina have said, and Auntie Britt. Of course, her mommy, if you haven't watched the show before, is none other than Auntie Sophie. And see, she's on the T.C.E.Kids. Yes. Reading for you guys as well. So those moments are irreplaceable and last a lifetime. You'll be reading to your daughter as well. Like Dr. Amina said, well read. And we know that book is very personal to you. So thank you for sharing that, Saniyah. You are amazing. And good luck with everything. You have a long resume as well. And as we get older, we're certainly going to need you in whatever career choice you choose, okay? All right, so we have next Christian, who's been patiently waiting for us. And some known facts about Christian. He's 11 years old. He's been a straight A student since kindergarten. Wow. And he desires to become a journalist and or to play college football. So he has his sights on football, which is awesome. I love kids that are involved in sports, which you both are. He loves reading, writing, and math. And he's an active 10U football player and AAU basketball player as well. He loves dancing, music of all genres. And his parents are Tricia and Mark Williams. So welcome to the Caribbean Edge Kids, Christian. Anything you want to add to your resume? No, you're good? Okay, so take us away with what book you're going to read for us today.
So the book that I'm going to be reading is called All About Football, and I created the book. So, introduction. Football is a really exciting sport. Football has many cool things that you can improve on if you're playing junior football or the real thing, the NFL. Let me tell you more about football. Chapter 1, rules in football. To play football, you need the right way. You need the old-fashioned rules. Holding is when you block the offense. Holding is when the offense grabs and blocks them the wrong way. Unsportsmanlike conduct is when someone abuses, taunts, does excessive celebrations, and does fleeting injuries. Unnecessary roughness is when someone hits somebody roughly. Pass interference is when the defense interferes with the wide receiver and makes the receiver not eligible to catch the forward pass thrown by the quarterback. Roughing the kicker is when the defense makes illegal contact with the kicker. Roughing the passer is when the defense makes illegal contact with the passer. A false start is when the offense moves before the ball is snapped. Encroachment is when the defensive lineman jumps before the ball is snapped has a legal pathway to the quarterback. A challenge is when your coach tells the referee to challenge something. They have to stop the clock to review. A timeout is when your coach wants to gather up the team in a huddle and talk with the team. There can only be 11 people on the field. Same with the offense and defense. In all, there can only be 22 people on the field. The amount of time in a football game. In this chapter, I'm going to introduce the time in football. The average time for a football game is 3 hours and 12 minutes. But if you're playing junior football, it's around an hour. The first quarter is 15 minutes plus the timeout and commercial breaks for every quarter. The second quarter also has 15 minutes. After that, it's halftime. The players need to get fueled up. Then it's the third quarter and it's 15 minutes. Then the fourth quarter and it's also 15 minutes. Then the game's over. Chapter 3, the scores of football. In this chapter, I'm going to tell you about the scores in football. A touchdown is when the offense scores in the other team's end zone. It's worth 6 points. A field goal is when the offense's kicker tries to kick it into the field goal with his team guarding the kicker. An extra point is when the offense scores a touchdown, but they try to put another point on the scoreboard. A 2-point conversion is like an extra point, except it's worth 2 points. Chapter 4, Equipment. In this chapter, I will tell you about the equipment to wear in football. You need to wear certain equipment to play. The main thing you need is a football helmet. The other things you need are shoulder pads, football pants, socks, cleats, practice jersey, and a game jersey that you get by your coach. Make sure on cold and rainy games you wear warm clothes, gloves, and a long sleeve shirt. Equipment is very important in football. You have to protect your body from injuries. Now you will know to wear proper equipment to wear during the football season. Chapter 5, in the NFL. In the NFL, it's where the pros play. The rookies from college come to play in the NFL, but they first have to go through the NFL Combine. So some things that you do in the Combine is the 40-yard dash, the vertical jump, catch and drills, and defensive drills, and many more. The NFL draft is when the rookies come from college, get picked to a team with their family praying for them to get drafted. After you get drafted is the start of the preseason. There are 32 teams that you can get drafted to. The postseason, it's the playoffs. Only a few teams can survive it to make it to the Super Bowl. Off-season. The off-season is when you can get endorsements and deals for yourself. After the off-season, it's back to work. Chapter 6, Defense. Do you like to play defense in football? Well, you're in a good taste for football. Defense. Defense is the setup where you can stop the opponent's offense. The defensive line. The defensive line is where most of the pressure comes from. Their job is to prevent the offense by making turnovers, sacks, and tackles, and other ways to prevent the offense. Linebackers and outside defense. Linebackers and the outside defense is where you memorize the offensive plays and know what the offense is doing. Ways to prevent the offense is not interfering the wide receiver, interception, and tipped passes. So I have a picture of an NFL player right here. Chapter 7, Offense. Do you like to play an offense? Well, this is the right chapter for you, offense. Offense is the setup that you can score on. The offensive line. Offensive line are the people who block the defensive line so the offense can score. The running back and fullbacks. The running backs and the fullbacks are the people in the backfield with the QB. When the QB gives the ball to the backs, they are supposed to try and score or get a first down. Wide receivers and ends. The receivers in the end are supposed to catch the ball when the QB throws.
Thank you for that. Unfortunately, we couldn't hear too much. It was low, but I know it was about football. So we're probably going to have to get you to send us a video of you reading it so we can hear it better. I'm sure it was a lovely book, but I'm so sorry I couldn't make out a lot of what was saying. But I know it's from your heart because it's football, which you truly love. So thank you for that. Please send us a video as well.
He had some wonderful techniques, though, where he paused to show us the picture in the book.
Yes,
That's the teacher in him. I also want to say, Christian, that you could combine your love of journalism with your love of football and become a sports journalist. They make
Yeah.
a lot of money.
This is
They get to travel all over. Imagine following FIFA World Cup around the world just to
Right.
cover football.
I see a little Brian Gumble right there, if I have the name correct. You see exactly, Dr. Amina Meeks, you got it. Let him get that interested in the sports and he's able to explain the different techniques and all that in it. Very good. Passion is good.
Some
Passion
good
is
advice for you right there, Christian.
Passion is good. Yes.
So thank you. Auntie Sophie, we're going to leave Dr. Amina for last because I know she has a lot for us and we're probably mixing some with Patwa in between. But
Yes.
Auntie Sophie, what do you have for us today?
Well, here is what I have, Auntie Dawn, and listeners and viewers, because I know some mommies are in the kitchen now and they have the phone propped up and they're busy doing what they're doing. But what I gather is a lot of times when we talk about speaking Patwa, we tend to say, oh, when I'm upset, the Patwa come out. So even talking to or one of the mommies earlier when she said her daughter understands the language, especially when she's upset. And so I find with myself too, whenever I tend to go off a little bit, the Jamaican comes out if I'm trying to scold my kids, and Brittany can attest to that as my daughter. But today, Auntie Dawn, I'm going to share how the language is beautiful. Yes, it's expressive, but it also can be used in a beautiful way, a beautiful form of expression. So here is what I have. Love Letter by Louise Bennett, which of course, you know, she is our cultural icon and the queen of our second language, which everybody in the world knows English is our first language. Well, first formal language. But of course, Patwa is the language we use to communicate to each other in, what would I say in general terms? Everybody in Jamaica, listen to me carefully, everybody in Jamaica understands Patwa. Not everybody in Jamaica loves to speak Patwa. Not everybody in Jamaica knows how to read the Patwa. But trust me when I say they understand the Patwa. So we can delve into the history another time as to, you know, how it all became formalized. But right now I'm going to tell you, give you a little piece from my very dear Louise Bennett, the queen of the language. She writes, love letter. Me darling love, me little dove, me dumpling, me gizzada. Me sweetie Sue, I goes for you like how flies goes for sugar. As I puts me pen to paper and me pen nib start to fly, me remembrance remember the first day you catch me eye. You did just come off a tramp car, a bus was to your right, a car slips past your left ears, and you stand up stiff with fright. Your jaw drop, your mouth open, just like when jackass start yarn. My heart go boogo boogo, and I know I make a ban. No scan me little letter love, no laugh after me ya. Me learning not too good, but what me can't spell, me withdraw. The thing in the corner with the freckles is my heart, and the plate of yam and saltfish mean that we can never part. See how me draw the two face them that look for one another? Well, one is you and one is me. Take anyone you rather. This thing is that a cockroach foot is a finger with a ring, and it mean I want to marry you. This line is a piece of string. Take it, put round the wedding finger and your wedding hand. Careful, forget the right size, and then give it to this man. The man is me. Now, sweet rice, keep swell till I see you next. Accept me young heart while I close with love and bands of X. So my dearest people, this was a love letter written by some guy in Jamaica to his sweetheart. So the exuberance of the Jamaican male suitor has frequently lent itself to caricature. Here, a love letter with some rather original terms of endearment catches the spirit of uninhibited passion. So our language is colorful, our language is romantic, our language, listen, is not only French romantic, we have romance in our language too. And if you notice how we incorporated it with food, because everybody loves food. And if you can tell somebody, Lord, you're nice like a plate of rice and peas, that means you're well sweet. So there you have it. Love Letter by Louise Bennett. Thank you. The end.
It makes, if you are not familiar with Patwa or Miss Louise Bennett, it makes you want to go out and buy that book and start reading it and knowing the history and the culture that comes from our beautiful, beloved Jamaica. I am so glad that I grew up in Jamaica and have this experience. And a lot of Jamaicans say there's nothing like being Jamaican, right? So we're proud, yes, we're proud of our language, our culture, our rich heritage, and our strength as a people. And that's one of the reasons we want to share that with the rest of the world. So we thank you for that amazing story, Auntie Sophie.
Ay.
So, Dr. Amina, would you like to go now, or would you like us to do some little Patwa talking?
Well, I'm going to do some Patwa talking.
See that? All right, start.
I want to say that this business of the language is very important. The Ministry of Education, Auntie Sophie,
Yes.
has a project called TOESL. And that is the teaching of English as a second language. And this project is an old project, long before 2012, my dear Shania. So that there is the recognition that English is not really the first language, although we don't say that publicly. But if there is a project called the Teaching of English as a Second Language, it begs the question, what is the first language? And Miss Lou herself said many things about the language. She was very, well, she said, not she, her auntie Rochi was very upset when people said the language is derived. The language not derived from nothing, because we never said that English derived from Latin and Spanish and all of those things. And even Miss Lou herself said that what Jamaicans speak is a language. And that has also been confirmed by the language unit at the University of the West Indies. And you can find tons of their work online about the similarities in the structure and the grammar and the punctuation with languages from West Africa. So one day we must talk about the Jamaican language.
Yes, yes. Before you go any further, I am getting a little excited, and I have to interject here, Dr. Amina Blackwood Meeks, that as you're saying, I want to sanction what you're saying, please, ma'am, with another little piece. Give me few more minutes. Here's the other little piece that is gonna cinch that you're saying. Now, as we know, and I did say that, a lot of people in Jamaica, look down at the language, they don't want to speak it, and there was actually a campaign to kill it. So Miss Lou, in her wisdom, wrote a piece called Bans a Killing. Here is what it says. She looked at the man who apparently was the head of the force to kill it, and she said, so you are the man me hear about? Are you them said I take whole heap of English out, said that you want to kill dialect? Make me get it straight, Master Charlie, for me not quite understand. You're going to kill all English dialect or just Jamaica one? For if you're equal up with English language, then what make? You're going to feel inferior when it comes to dialect. That the language where you're proud of, where you honor and respect. Poor Master Charlie, you never know so that it spring from dialect. If you can't sing Linstead Market and water come on me eye, you will have to stop sing Old Long Sign and coming through the rye. That language where you're proud of, where you honor and respect. Poor Master Charlie, you know so that it spring from dialect. That them start to try turn language from the 14th century. 500 years gone and them got more dialect than we. You will have to kill the Lancashire, the Yorkshire, the Cockney, the Broad Scotch, and the Irish brogue before you start kill me. You will have to get that Oxford Book of English verse and tear out Chaucer, Burns, Lady Griseld, and plenty of Shakespeare. When you don't kill wit and humor, when you kill variety, you will have to find a way if it kill originality. And Mass Charlie, I know you'd read them English book up on your shelf. For if you drop a H, you might have to kill yourself. Aye, aye, aye. There you go.
Yes, yes, it's a very interesting discussion, Auntie Dawn. And one day or one of your Wednesday nights, we should explore the relationship between language and power, and why it is that some people have the power to tell other people how not to speak. One of my favorite examples of this is that there was no word called normalcy until Churchill make a mistake. And instead of saying normality, him said normalcy. But nobody could say he made a mistake. And so they put it in the dictionary the following year. Or when just before the war between Iran and Iraq under President Bill Clinton, there was no such word as actionable. But the president said the situation in Iraq is now actionable. And what do you know? Actionable come in the dictionary. But when we say a prime minister of ours, once upon a time, did spell bread, B-R-E-D, we laugh and say him stupid. But when the Americans say S-O-X is socks, we accept it as making the language functional. Is it schedule or schedule? And so on and so on and so forth. So it makes a very interesting discussions about the exercise of power over a certain group of people who we consider to be powerless. And Louise Bennett herself said that when she was growing up, all the people that she knew who talked bad language, as it was said, were the kindest people to her. They came to her mother, who was a dressmaker, and they were so kind and so polite, but they spoke what was called bad language. And as a child, she couldn't put the two things together, because bad language supposed to mean you're a bad person, but they were not. So yeah, one of these days we should have a full discussion on it.
Yes,
absolutely, Dr. Amina.
We're seeing it now with COVID-19. I've been having discussions, and I will send you the link. Tomorrow is International Peace Day, and the theme is how COVID promotes discrimination and threatens peace. And so I had a long discussion, which will be on Zoom tomorrow. I will send you the link, about how this could be so. And Professor Hubert Devonish, who is our foremost linguist and has done tremendous amount of work in the Jamaican language, pointed out that people don't understand the messages in English, because language doesn't just have how you spell it and what it means, but how it impacts you emotionally and propels you to act. And a lot of the English words and phrases do not connect emotionally with the Jamaican people.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. And I shared with Dr. Amina and Auntie Sophie as well. My experience growing up in Jamaica was you had to speak the Queen's language, and like you said, it's bad talking. So I wasn't allowed to speak Patwa in my household. So a lot of Caribbean kids, or maybe a handful of us, went through that as well, where we weren't able to speak our beautiful language. And like Dr. Amina says, you know, it's important that we know our culture, our heritage, and where it's derived from. So it's always a learning experience with Dr. Amina, and we always appreciate you sharing that wisdom and knowledge with us, because our heritage is important to our future generations as well. So thank you. So I want to switch a little bit and just have our young readers tell us about their experience with Patwa. So Saniyah and Christian, if I give you some Patwa words, will you be able to put them in sentences? And it's okay if you don't know. So one of the things we say in Jamaica is no bother me. Does anyone know what that means from our young readers? No bother me.
Don't bother me.
It means to leave you alone.
Very
Say
well.
that again, Christian.
It means to leave you alone.
Leave me alone. No bother me. So leave me alone. Perfect. Left me alone is another way we say it. So there are different ways we say it, and we say it very expressively and with attitude. No bother me. And sometimes we add gal or boy. No bother me. Right? So you want to try a sentence for us, Saniyah?
Like speak Patwa.
Can you say no bother me?
Nah bother me.
That's fine.
All right, no bother me. Exactly. There's a reason you're going through this experience with us as we learn our language. So, you know, if you missed last week's episode as well, some of our young readers had fun saying some of these things with us as well. All right, so let's see what. My spirit not take her, or my spirit not taking. A lot of Caribbean people, Jamaican people will say that. And does anyone know what that means? My spirit not take her.
We don't like it.
You don't like her? Wow, Christian, you must have some Jamaican parents there. Exactly. I don't like her, or I don't like him. The spirit not take her. I can tell you something. I thought about that one today as I was gardening, and I said, boy, my spirit just take Dr. Amina. From day one, right, Auntie Sophie?
Yes, yes.
I really like her.
And that's what we mean when we say it's not just words. It's an emotional, psychological connection. Spirit tech is a very important part of the culture. Among the Yoruba people, knowledge is what you bring with you, but you don't have to prove it. As opposed to the Western culture where you need data and qualitative something another and result. We go by spirit. My spirit tell me, no go out of the road today. Or something happens and you say, if me did follow my spirit, because we bring with us a connection to a world that we cannot see. And we bring with us the understanding that that unseen world will guide us. Now, when we talk like this, people say we're mad and we are wokwobia until we go into the Bible and we see how often Jesus himself was led by the Spirit, by the Spirit. And so the Spirit is not just a metaphor. The Spirit is part of who I am. And if I follow my Spirit, I never go wrong. So my Spirit take her.
Yes.
Prove it, my Spirit just take her.
But a lot of times,
actually, that's also a Black American saying, with obviously it's a little edited. They'll say like, it doesn't sit right with my spirit or something of that similar like connotation. That kind of goes back to even more of that that African influence in all of our lives, that this very spiritual connection that we have, which is very different from other cultures.
Yep.
yes. But a lot of times we'll say, my spirit not take her at all, meaning I don't like her or I don't like him. Or I like that point, Dr. Amina, where your spirit told you something about you, your subconscious said, don't go out on the road. But you may have gone, or you listened to yourself and something happened and you said, my spirit did tell me not to go. I stayed home. So absolutely. All right, we're not going to pressure our young leaders today with the Patwa. But we're going to have Dr. Amina share a story with us, or whatever she has in store for us today. We're so honored you're with us.
Yes, it is my honor and my privilege, really. And we can talk about that another time. So bless you and thank you all. Tomorrow is International Peace Day. And I selected a story, but I also went through my head to see what Jamaican proverbs do I know about peace, Our stories, children, is a very important way of preserving the culture, the heritage, and the language. And so when I thought of what proverbs do I know about peace, let me tell you the first one that come to my head, Auntie Sophie.
Yeah.
Peace between man and beast.
That's right.
You know that one?
Peace between man and beast. That means
Yes.
everything is on accord. If man and beast can be at peace, yes.
Absolutely.
Peace
and
on earth.
what our great-great-grandparents have been telling us
Yes.
about how we should relate to the environment and relate to the animals. And
Yes.
now we're seeing this coming up in the sustainable goals, sustainable development goals, that people go to big university and put on jacket and tie and high heel shoes and sit down around United Nations table are now saying to us how we must treat animals and treat the environment. But we didn't know from long time, say, peace between man and beast. So our language is also deeply philosophical. Another one about peace that I remembered was, when you think is peace and safety.
Sudden.
What, Auntie Sophie?
Sudden destruction.
Sudden destruction. Which means that you can never be too complacent. Yes. You can't take life for granted, children. You can't take what you're doing for granted. And so I found a story that looks at the issue of peace through the environment. There was a great storyteller called Aesop. Ever heard of Aesop? Okay, so his name is spelled A-E-S-O-P. And for the big people who are listening and watching, sometimes when you see his name written, the A and the E are joined in what we call a diphthong. Or we will see E-T-H-I-O-P, Ethiop. People say that they don't really know where Aesop is from. But Aesop is the Ethiop. He was an Ethiopian who traveled telling stories and told stories in the courts of the Greeks. And so they would have wanted to claim him and say him was a Greek, but the Ethiopian. And in the same way that Anansi dwells in the animal kingdom, Aesop uses metaphors from nature to teach us many things. And so perhaps Auntie Sophie and Auntie Dawn and the other aunties who are listening and watching, Auntie Brittany, will know the story about the sun and the wind. When I say crick, you say crack. Crick, crack. Very good. Because when we tell stories in the African world, and by the African world, I mean Africa on the continent and Africa in the diaspora, and we are in the diaspora, we who were trafficked in the first incidents of human trafficking, live in the diaspora. The way we tell stories is the storyteller says something, and those who are listening say something else, and then the story can begin. And what that call and response does is to acknowledge that we belong to a longer now. Me could have think me bright so Tillan and me write the story. If things didn't happen before me, if others before me had not preserved it, I could not call myself a storyteller, and I wouldn't know anything called storytelling. And there are several forms of words, and over the course of our getting to know one another, we will be introduced to some of them. But the easiest one for now is crick, crack. When I say crick, you say crack. Crick, crack. This is the story of the sun and the wind. A long time ago, all the elements lived together in peace and unity. And then the wind realized that the rain only named rain, and the sun only named sun, but him named plenty things. Him named breeze, him named cool breeze, him named Christmas breeze, him named depression, him named storm, him named hurricane. So him put it in him head that he was better than all of the elements. And so one day when the son came out, he said to the son, son, you know say me better than you? Or you only name son? Make I tell you how much name I have. And he went down the list of names. And because I have so many names, I bet you, Mr. Son, that I am stronger than you are. And the poor son didn't know what to do. But as they were there engaged in this argument about who was stronger, because the sun is so high in the sky, the son saw a man approaching in the distance. And he said to the wind, I see a man coming. And he described the man. Now, Auntie Dawn, I'm sure you have seen this man in your village, because you have some Jamaicans, you know, who from morning till night them dress up. As my mother would say, nicely dressed in their J-A-C-K-E-T, because they are so dressed up, it can't be a mere jacket. It has to be a J-A-C-K-E-T. So there he was coming down the street with his felt hat. You ever see the felt hats, Auntie Sophie? Of course. But when Jamaican men go for dress, you know, felt hat, and him J-A-C-K-E-T, and him nice necktie, and him long sleeve shirt, and him beautiful trousers, and him diamond socks. You know diamond socks? When a Jamaican have on a diamond socks, you know, he going places, and his two-tone shoes. You know two-tone shoes? Full himself nice. And so the son described this man and said, I see him coming. And any one of us that can get him to remove his jacket will be declared the stronger. The wind get ready, man. Him say, well, that have to be me, I tell you already. And him puff up him chest. And as the man approached in his line of vision, he blew a gentle wind. And the man said, what a nice wind. Well, the wind vex, you know, because the man is not supposed to enjoy no nice wind. And him blow a little harder. But guess what? The more he's blowing, the colder it is becoming. And as it became colder, the man grabbed his jacket around his body tighter so he could feel warm. And the wind vexed and him blew a little more. Well, you know, say when wind start blow, rain is not far away. And as him blow, rain come and wet up the man. And the man grab onto him jacket and the wind vex and him blow a little more. And the man hold on to him beautiful, expensive felt hat and him blow a little more. And the man hold on to a tree, but he's not letting go of his jacket. And when the wind was out of breath, can you imagine that? The wind being out of breath, and the man had trembled now, him had shiver, cause him wet up on him cold. The sun came out very gently and shone on this man, and his felt hat was dried, and he took it off so his hair could be dry. And then the sun tried to dry his jacket, but a little bit of sun was not enough. So the sun shone warmer and warmer and warmer until the jacket was dry, and the sun shone warmer until the man start get hot. Well, you know what happened when the man start get hot? He have to take off the jacket, C-K-E-T. There you have it. Peace between man and beast. There is no point quarreling about anything that separates us because of our differences, because what makes us different is also what makes us strong. And in Jamaica, when the story ends, the storyteller says, Jack Mandora. And those who are listening have to say, me no choose none. Right, Saniyah, me no choose none. Me no choose none. Try it. The only way to swim is to jump in the water. Me not choose none. Wonderful. And that's my story for today.
Thank you. I saw Brittany going into role play with the jacket getting hot.
I was really into it. I'm feeling like I'm the man, like getting colder and getting warmer. It really gets me into the story.
And And so earlier, when Shania's mom, what's her name again? Charlene? When Charlene said she wanted Shania to dress up, and I said we could debate that. One of the things we are conscious of when we tell stories is that stories fuel the imagination. So I don't need to tell you what to see by virtue of how I look. If I were telling stories to babies, I'd remove my earrings because they get very distracted. And I would wear solid colors. So we do all of that so they don't see you, they see the story. And then if they get together to talk about the story when you are finished, you would be surprised. All the things that they read into the story by their own imagination.
Beautiful.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Welcome to Storytime, everybody on the Caribbean Edge Kids. Saniyah and Christian, absolute pleasure to have you both on here. This is certainly just the beginning of your storytelling journey. And thank you for your choices today that both read from the heart and for your passion for what you do love. Auntie Brittany, always a pleasure having you. And as you read stories, following in your mom, Auntie Sophie's footsteps, and giving us some culture. And I mean, this show means so much to me, as you all know, because we are certainly preserving our culture, our heritage, and we're encouraging our kids to have fun and read and inspire and educate each other. Dr. Amina, always a pleasure to have you as you share such vast history and culture with us. Your knowledge is powerful beyond measure for us as we continue to share this with generations. So I'll open.
May I say this, Auntie Dawn? This is such an important program. When we say that 2020 has not been kind, but maybe we are not being kind to the creator and the universe in which all things are perfectly ordered. And we say that we have lost so many great minds during the course of 2020. And when Ruth Bader died 2 nights ago, Justice Ruth, and it appeared on my Facebook, my only comment was, who is next in the relay? And you are a very important part of this relay, of the continuation of our culture and the ideas and ideals that have kept us together and that has allowed us to contribute to civilization. And you don't have to be a storyteller to be able to do this. You just have to be the means through which storytelling is facilitated. And that is so critical. So enough respects, and may this program grow from strength to strength, both in content as well as in terms of numbers and reach of different peoples. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for that. Anyone on the panel has anything to say? I open the floor up to you guys. Christian, how about you? What would you like the viewers to know? I see you have some family that tuned in. Well, we thank you once again for being here. Saniyah, what would you like to say? Anything?
I don't have anything to say.
You have a beautiful smile, and we're glad you read your book today. Auntie Britt?
Saniyah, are those one of the bracelets that you make that you're wearing right now?
Yes.
Oh, they're so pretty.
Yes, they are.
Actually, I'm more. I could show you.
Oh.
See, these are with charms.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Yes. Beautiful.
And this one with an elephant.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Very pretty. It's very pretty.
A butterfly. And then this one took me 11 hours to make.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
11 hours in one sitting, or you left it and came back to it?
I was working on it for 7 hours one day, and then the next day, after school, I finished it.
That's a lot of discipline and commitment.
Yeah.
And, and Auntie Dawn, let me just say to Saniyah too, I realize it may appear as though she's shy, Dr. Amina, but guess what? When you started to talk about what she loves, did you see how she light up?
Yeah.
Did you see how the young lady light up when she started to share her passion? Here's that word again. So we encourage you parents, tap into your children's passion, find out what it is they like, and that's how they are going to shine. Don't push anything on them that's not from the inner spirit. So you see how she came out when you talk about her jewelry, Auntie Britt. She was happy to share her passion. And
But she could also do jewelry about storytelling characters. I don't know which culture has the butterfly, but the elephant is a very important part of South African storytelling tradition and also of the Indian. So you could select different characters. You could make a spider and put a spider into a piece of jewelry, a fox, if you're into animals.
Again, peace with man and beast. That's amazing. Wonderful.
I see some great ideas coming your way, Saniyah, of using your creative skills and talents and incorporating some strong culture and heritage as well. I love the elephant, Dr. Amina. I have it. I've given it to my daughter as well. And like Auntie Sophie says, parents, find your passion for your kids and support them in that, because that's what they're going to pursue and do well at. They'll excel at it if they enjoy doing it. So all great points. Dr. Amina, I'll let you have the closing words for us today. Anything you'd like to tell our viewers that tuned in?
Fire there must tell him think a cool breeze. Which is another way of saying just be very careful. In these times, we can't be too careful with ourselves, our environment, and with each other. So we take care of one another and give our best to each other.
Thank you. Well, good, everyone, and thanks for joining us on this cultural journey. Thank our viewers. We didn't get time to check all the comments, but I'll go in and read them, and thank you for sharing, share this cultural experience with everyone. Thanks again for tuning in to the Caribbean Edge Kids. Have a wonderful day and walk good.
Walk good and good up.
Walk good.
And good up you follow you. Blessings.
Bless
Take care.
Get good.